Can I please have your attention? Stop what you're doing and listen.
DOD45.
This is the DOD45 Show, drawing over discussions 45 minutes with a special guest. Welcome. I'm your host and resident artist, Tai of ArtByTai, and with my co-host, Adrian Taiwali'i, we're having conversations with people who I admire and am inspired by. On this episode, I'll set a 45-minute timer, put my pen to the paper, and we'll learn about our guest through an interview-style discussion. So stay right here with us to experience some laughs and maybe even learn a thing or two.
DOD45.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the DOD45 Show. We are in a different location. It feels a little bizarre. It's not ideal, but it's what's going to work. We're currently on tour in Florida for the ArtByTai stuff. But the show must go on. So while in podcast world, listening world, this seems like we were just on, but it's been a little bit for us since we recorded. So I don't know. It seems like when it's been a little while, I feel a little rusty as far as having conversation. How about you?
I mean, we don't talk, so when we're together for 5 weeks straight and we have no one else to talk to.
Well, speaking of having no one else to talk to.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I turned mine all the way down.
Your headphone volume. Yes, we did go hang out with Mestizo in St. Petersburg, Florida. That was nice. One other quick thing I guess I shouldn't point it out, but it's going to drive me nuts.
Okay, don't eat?
No. We're using a different audio board, so the audio isn't as crisp in my headphones. I can hear it, and it feels weird. I'm also just coming off of a little bit of a cold sickness thing, talking to a bunch of people in Florida. And I can hear my stuffy nose. So those things are going to drive me nuts. I'm going to try not to focus on them, but I feel like if I bring them up, then I get over it for some reason.
Okay. I feel weird. Where are our stripper lights?
Yeah, see? Dark lights and mood setting makes a big difference. We're in like a totally white area. We're recording this out of our Airbnb in Kissimmee, Florida. Anyway, our guest today is Kay the Aquanaut. But before we get into him, we'll have our little pre-banter. And for those of you who are just joining us this series, we're in Series 7 of the DOD45 Show. If you're just barely first-time listener, you've heard in all the intros and everything, I am Tai, but you might not have any idea who I am or who Adrian is. And if you can't stomach listening to us, the way we do this show is we have a banter for 30 minutes before our guest. And that usually gets condensed to about 20 minutes. So if you can't stand us, I totally get it. Skip 20 minutes ahead to the guest.
I don't get it.
Well, I mean, I get it. Like, when I'm first listening to a new show or something, I tend to I'm like, I don't know who you people are. I don't know if I like you.
I mean, we've done a lot of episodes, I think.
Well, and I guess my point is, however, if you are willing to just stick around and get to know us, it makes the whole episode, the whole experience better, because then you get where we're coming from and
Backwards.
etc. And you'll learn things like where Adrian puts her headphones on backwards, even though we have been doing the show for almost 3 years.
If you tape back, you'll probably notice me looking at the R on my headphone and then my wedding ring on my left hand to see which side they should be on.
Well, so yeah, I think I'm going to probably say that in most of the episodes. Feel free to skip ahead 30 minutes right to the guest.
That's stupid.
I won't be offended.
Either you're with us or you're not. Who cares?
Okay.
Move on.
All right.
I mean, they can get on.
Okay.
They can move on.
You can move right the fuck on, is what Adrian's saying. One other thing I was going to say, follow the hashtag ArtByTai on Instagram. Because of social media, the way social media is happening these days, I feel like the only way you're really going to see the stuff that I'm posting with my artwork is by following the hashtag. I'm going to bring up this. There was an interesting coincidence happened this past today. Was it? Yeah, today and yesterday. I got a text from two of my close friends, one yesterday and one this morning, and both were in regards to adopted children reaching out to their parents. I don't know, it's just a coincidence. And the stories behind them are their own stories, so I won't go into them. But one of the stories is playing out live on American Idol right now, currently. And that's a really interesting story. I guess if I bring it up, I should mention more about. I shouldn't even have brought it up. It was interesting. And then another close friend of mine had just found out that he has a son, and got to meet him 22 years later.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people out there have kids they don't know about.
Oh yeah, the reason I was bringing this up is things like this, like these extended families that you didn't know about, or what do you call it? What do you call that situation? Not extended families, but finding out you have a sibling all of a sudden. It adds so many layers and dynamics to already existing families. I remember when I was 13, that was the first time I met my little brother. I didn't know I had a little brother, and I'm trying to think how I understood that I think I was 12 years old. I think I had some weird. I don't know. It was weird.
Well,
for a child, I mean, obviously it's weird for parents as well. But when you get a new sibling, all of a sudden, it's different, right? Just adds weirdness. Not weirdness, but
I guess I don't know. I cannot relate. My extra siblings came when I was in preschool, and so we were young enough on both sides of my families to.
That it was a normal thing.
That we basically just grew up together at that point. Speaking of, I did hear from one of my 3 brothers on my birthday.
That's funny, because you will always reach out to everyone.
It was just funny.
Yeah.
I was just noticing. I was like, oh, I got a lot of love on my birthday from people from this show because you put it out there. But yeah, it was nice. But people reached out to me, and it was really nice.
Yep, you're just 20-something years old.
I'm not sure if I'm digging these banks anymore, especially when I'm looking at myself.
Oh boy, that noise you hear is our cat, Tumbleweed. Yep. There you go. I guess that'll happen throughout the show. Well, I guess I didn't really go anywhere with that. I just find it an interesting.
Well, it was because of Tumbleweed that you found out about the American Idol thing.
Yeah.
Because
should I tell some of that?
I mean, you brought it up and then you dropped it, so it was just kind of like nothing.
So I have a friend, a really close friend who I used to produce movies with and make music with. I had posted a picture of our cat Tumbleweed on my personal Instagram, and then he reached out and said, "Hey, why did you name your cat Tumbleweed?" So we told him a story. I told him the story. We were texting back and forth, and then he said, "Hey, do you remember I wrote a song? Him and his wife wrote this song called Tumbleweed," and he asked me if I remembered it. And I kind of did remember because he played it at a show I used to put on in Salt Lake City called Submerged in Art. I had them play. It was an art show and a music performances. So we had them play at the show, and they played that song Tumbleweed. And I asked him, I said, "Oh, I do kind of remember that song. Did you play that at the Submerged in Art show, and do you have a recording of it?" And he said, "Well, funny enough, you should ask," and then texted me a link to a YouTube clip of American Idol, and his sister-in-law, she was in a band and she passed away, but she had a child, or no.
Yeah, that she gave up for adoption.
She had a child that she had given up for adoption, and the child is now on American Idol, a contestant on American Idol, and she had just recently discovered that her mother comes from a family of singers. So my friend's wife, who used to sing, oh boy.
Long story short, she ended up playing their song Tumbleweed on
American Idol. Yeah.
Got Idol.
America's Got Idol. And I watched the clip and I was bawling my eyes out because I know the story. And interesting, what I also think is interesting, some of you might know the comedian Doug Stanhope. this girl who's on American Idol. Her mom, who had passed away, her and her husband used to live at Doug Stanhope's home, and they are very close. They were very close friends with him, and I think he talks about them quite a bit in his stand-up. All right, well, that was that long little thing. I have this other thing written down. Dialogue in movies and shows recently is so bad.
Well, I recently saw a headline maybe that said, "Why does everybody have to read subtitles now?"
Oh.
And I don't know if that's an audio issue, or I didn't read the article, but maybe that has something to do with what you're saying.
I don't know. I do know that the new generation of movie watchers do enjoy watching movies with subtitles, but it's dialogue. It feels, or first of all, movies these days are shit. I'm sorry to be that person to say that, but it really feels quite bad. I just noticed it from the last few movies we watched. I started watching the new True Detective season on HBO with Jodie Foster.
Oh yeah, I started watching that with you.
Oh man, it is so bad. I hate to shit on things, on creative stuff, but it's so bad. I wonder if it has something to do with writers these days. The relationships with conversation relationships are different now, are written. You know what I mean? Like, this is just my theory, but you would have conversations in person a lot, and the way you, like, when I type what I'm saying, it's so different than how I actually speak.
I know it is.
Yeah,
you
but
use
I'm not the
huge
only
words
one.
And
yeah,
no, I know.
I'm not the only one. Lots of people do that. Even when I was a screenwriter, when I was writing my movies, I would read them and I'm like, I don't talk like that.
Right.
It's
And you think because there's a disconnect with people not speaking
Yes.
one-on-one and using social media to communicate instead?
Conversation now is typed out and read rather than actually in person. So I think a lot of writers, when they're writing these conversations, and then they turn up on shooting day and they film these conversations or these scenes, I don't know, it just feels
Well, I can't
feels
even
off.
get to the conversations. Visually, I just can't hang. With all the digital, I can't hang.
Yeah.
It just feels like I'm watching a seminar, or like when you go to a new job and they like show you a video of how to do things. That's what everything looks like to me, and I just can't get into the...
Every time we turn on a movie, Adrian goes, "Oh, that's digital. It's digitized."
Well, and I think it has to do with the actual television.
It's because all movies are shot in digital now, and it is the televisions. But you can hide a lot of that with good lighting. Well, the other movie I was going to
Can't
say.
you just pixelize it, like film it on lower quality digital?
Yeah, but that's not the issue. What the issue is that film shoots at 24 frames per second.
But they're not filming.
Right, but video films at sometimes 60 frames per second,
So just turn it down.
29.97 frames per second. So the only way, they used to do that a long time ago when video first came out, you turn it down, all it does is drops the last 5 frames. To shoot video in 24 frames per second, it just drops the last 5 frames, so it doesn't actually have that slow analog
they know
feeling.
how to do filters. Like,
They do that.
Instagram's been doing filters for like 12
A lot of
years.
movies do those filters, but they look very digital. Yeah, the other movie we tried to watch was Beekeeper, and oh boy, that was incredibly shitty.
I wasn't really even into that one we just watched the other night with
You know
the
what?
writer.
I was bummed about that
like-
because I heard it's like an Oscar-nominated movie, and I heard this new podcast I listened to
But
quite a bit.
The dialogue in that one seemed weird.
It was awkward. It was not a normal kind of. Their discussions were a little weird. It's feeling very much like, well, people don't really talk like that. I don't know, but it was good. It was still a good movie. I was kind of bummed because I had heard that it was a great movie. Speaking of great movies, we went and saw a great movie, and I might just be because I love the man dearly, but we went and saw Bob Marley's new movie, and I only cried 6 times watching it, but it was really, 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 really good.
It was good, and it wasn't because you're an excuse. Our kids are getting lunch right now, but it wasn't because you love him so much. It was really good.
It really was. The actor, I know he caught a lot of shit at the very first when they first started saying they were going to film it because he's so tall.
Oh, really?
Yeah, people were kind of like weirded out
Was
by
Bob
that.
Marley short?
He wasn't short, but that Kingsley is a really tall individual. Huh. But it doesn't even matter how people get so caught up with things like that. And I wonder if there was a lot of blowback that he's not actually Jamaican.
I don't know, but at the end when they showed actual Bob Marley, I was like, oh, they should have showed the other guy.
Well, it is.
I liked him better.
When you're watching, oh jeez, but when you're watching the movie, Kingsley, all of a sudden, like he really becomes Bob Marley. You think, oh, he looks just like Bob Marley. Your brain takes it in, and then all of a sudden, when they're showing pictures of Bob Marley, you remember, oh, he kind of doesn't look exactly like him. He just played him so well. It's really good. Yeah, I my very first tattoo I ever got. Well, maybe not my first. It's a portrait of Bob Marley on my back. But they listen to a lot of reggae.
You only get portraits of guys.
Well, they listen to a lot of reggae music and island music in Samoa, and I just grew up on reggae music from my dad, and so yeah, the connections that I have with Bob Marley, even his being an Afkasi, that half caste, I think I connected with that a lot. So he meant a lot to me, his music and him as a person. So that's why when we first saw the trailer for the movie, I was just crying during the trailer. So I knew when we were going to go see the movie, I was like, this is going to be too emotional for me, but it wasn't all that bad emotionally.
I didn't cry. I got choked
You didn't?
up. I got choked up at one point, but no, I didn't cry. It was a good movie, though. The first good movie we've seen in a minute.
Just when I hear the music play, I cry.
I did have a problem with everyone singing in the theater.
Oh, you were wondering about that before we
and
even
the
went.
theater.
Yeah.
What is with Florida? We have this Airbnb is infested with these minuscule ants, and the theater that we went to, like, all of the seat was peeling off.
This theater had seen
Like none of us wanted to sit down. We were like, oh. It was kind of like one of these nice new theaters that is no longer nice.
Well, the lady sitting next to me sang every single song, and typically or usually I get very annoyed by things like that in the movie theater, but I wasn't bothered. I felt okay. I was like, that's how moving his music is to people, that you just have to sing along in a movie. I don't know, but yeah. It wasn't as bad as some movies. Remember what the Barbie movie? That one lady was like up front.
Oh, but
yeah. Well, we
right.
just
that was tall. That was fine.
It's all okay. It's not laser pointers at movie theaters. Remember when that was a big thing? Oh man. Anything else you want to talk about before I go into
no, I guess
our
we better
guest?
get into him.
Yeah. Yeah, we got a couple of things on the list that I'd like to go over at some point, but all right, our guest today is Christian Pulowski, aka Kay the Aquanaut from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. Right? How do you say Saskatchewan? Saskatchewan.
I think I need to see it in front of me, but I thought it was Saskatchewan.
Saskatoon, Saskatchewan.
I don't know. From freaking Canada.
He's from the same place where our boy Factor Chandelier is from. He's a rapper, musician, thinker, pontificator with a very recognizable voice and style. He's got loads of music on his Bandcamp. Music of his that I'm most familiar with, his 2007 album called Spinning Blue Planet. The opening track, Floating. That gets you right in the mood for what your future with Aquanaut is going to be like.
Kay the Aquanaut. Broadcasting live from a little place called Earth. It's been a couple years since we last touched base. Now I'm gliding on the verse like I'm riding a wave. Surf's up, motherfucker. This is how the prairie does it. Put a blaze to the earth. Sit back and prepare for some tracks you never heard before. We've been hard at work because the scene seems stale.
On that whole album, it's like fierce lyrics with driven cadence on some laid-back beats. It's a really pleasing contrast. His 2011 track, Theme Song.
Yesterday I caught a case of cyberdome. Amidst the mission, I lost my way home. I walked the rope, albeit it's done alone. But all alone, I'm tougher than
I came across that theme song music video a while ago, and I've always liked the song. There's a 2011 album called Waterloo. That's available on his Bandcamp. Ghostshrimp did the album cover for that. He was the... Do you know who Ghostshrimp is? He was the lead background designer for Adventure Time, the cartoon. I think he...
Why would I know that?
Well, we've talked
watch
about him
cartoons.
before. I think he bailed on that gig, actually, on that Adventure Time gig. He made a boatload of money, and he's like, I'm good, I'll bail. I'd like to get Ghostshrimp on the show sometime. That he's an out there individual. There's a track on that Waterloo album called Textbooks.
I save this for the best. History was written in the West. Welcome all to the new world. Put them to the test. Tied to the chain, chained to the flag. Rid the land of pests. Strip the girls, burn the vest. Grab the family chest. Hit the road, on to the next. Every penny they invest.
I'm way into that track. Check that one out. He's got a 2013 album with Factor called Letters from Lyka. It's full of great tracks. I really dig the song Shooting Range.
Fucker, slick talk from the powder hot. Kinda homeboy you like to see shot. Everybody laugh, they point and got over the edge and just lost my job. And the plot is thickening in chicken gravy. Holidays, they wanna pour to my grave. Lazy moon to make the skeletons walk. Back to the place where the buffalo flock. Sock and Jimmy couldn't save the lot. Sign is up and the ritual buy my profit down. Their portfolio up. Pull out the strap, take the interest back.
And there's a song on there called Pangean Drift, and that features AWOL1.
All I know is let my soul fly. And all I know is let my soul fly.
One break, weld up my temples. There's a lot right here by your dimples. Young and dumb and full of pimples. Complicated, I live my life simples. Ocean in my bath, current is my wrath. And all side roads are maps and paths. Hope someday when my child laughs, daddy raps his paragraphs.
Kay the Aquanaut's vocal range and AWOL1's vocal range are so different that it makes for a powerful contrast.
Does it have to do with the shifting of the continents on that song?
Well, listen to a lot of Kay the Aquanaut's lyrics, and he's a super educated kind of person, I believe, just based off of listening to his lyrics. But yeah, I would like to hear a whole album of AWOL1 and Kay the Aquanaut, because their styles are so distinctive and so different on the vocal range. His 2016 album with Myka called Station Wagon, that's an extraordinary album. The song Postmodern Rasputin is one of my favorites off of there. He comes real hard on that track. It's got strong lyrical content, and the hook and chorus on that song gets my juices flowing.
Fuck the queen, bring the throne down. Leave a legacy that's bigger than the royal fire. The king's ransom, dangling a carrot in front of these parched carriers. Wander towards visions of lucrative incentives from repping this fucking system and wrecking the planet system. Catalyst, the cataclysm. Kill the planet, kill the wisdom, pacifism.
The first vinyl that I own of his, and when I really started digging into Aquanaut, was with his 2017 album Seven Vessels. That was released on Fake 4. I obviously love the whole album and really like the song Must Say.
Too late, and I must say, I panic cannot sustain us, all living this way. Even if life has no sequel, don't mean this world ends when we do. It's all chaos, we fumble fingers in darkness, searching for something real, really though. We're spinning and never actually getting anywhere faster. Free falling petty, pinch pennies for masters, fucking bastards. Pillage them, rape and lie.
That's a track that also features Chesky, who we're going to go see this weekend with the Co-Defendants in Tampa. In 2020, Kay the Aquanaut dropped his 13th album called Nautical Blue, and the 4th album he did with Myka. There's a real slick track on there called Saltwater Stone Soup.
It's sad to say now the soils can't grow any food, and tragically all the children die this way. And what you're thinking nowadays is cut and paste. Through the tears, read the page. Maybe we should talk about analysis after all. Cause why would you ever celebrate this state? The type of freedom that's curated and clickbait.
His 2023 album, Before the Dog, After Humanity, has real hard-hitting kind of beats.
See reality in Kay the Aquanaut. Before the dog and after humanity. Salute to all the raccoons. You're too afraid to look into the mirror. Too apathetic to see situations clear. Closer to encampments than being.
The title track, Before the Dog After Humanity, lets you know what you're going to get from that whole album. And there's a song on there called Rocket Man that gets me fired up as well.
All this blood spilled encapsulates me in grief. Let the media frame who is the enemy. The only thing is clear, I'm the Rocket Man. Currently, this ain't no place to raise your kids. That's why I'm wildin' with this launch, a razor fist. If you fuck with me, violently resist this.
His new album with Factor that we're promoting today is called New Physics. There's a track on there called In the Name of Love featuring Lee Reed, who recently signed with Strange Famous Records.
Got evicted from the first story to that all brick Victorian radiator heater with the buckled wood floor and shit. 2 clicks east of the downtown core. We thought we found a spot to hide out. We gave our blood out the bank account. These parasites holding knife at you right the housing. Another homie getting thrown out of shit.
This album it's a heavily astrology laced album.
Okay.
And I wonder if astrology is a new thing that he's into, or if it's something, probably not, based on his lyrics. But this one's got a lot of discussion of Jupiter.
I don't know.
Damn it!
I used to be into that when I was a lot younger, but
Why did it just leave my brain?
I don't think I like space anymore.
With the guy, the Jesus criminy. I can't believe that just totally left my head.
Jupiter? Neptune? Saturn?
No, not the
Uranus?
planet. Sagittarius. Yeah, Sagittarius, Jupiter. Oh boy, I lost my train of thought. Sorry, you guys. Well, we could actually find out if he's into astrology from him. Astrology. Shit. All right.
That would be Australian astrology.
There you go. My mumble mouth. We'll just mumble right into our conversation with Kay the Aquanaut. We'll be right back with Kay.
Yo, much love to one of Canada's finest MCs, you know what I'm saying? Super smooth on the mic, you know what I mean? He got that flow, you know what I'm saying? He's friends with my homeboy Factor, you know what I mean? So shout outs to my man, Kay the Aquanaut. Yo, Kay, man, what's up from the Walrus? Hope all is well, homeboy. Yeah, DOD45, Kay the Aquanaut. Hit it.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? Stop what you're doing and listen.
DOD45.
Well, welcome to the DOD45 show, and thank you for joining us. For the next 45 minutes, I'm going to draw you a picture, and we're going to have a discussion. Before I start the timer, though, I want to start it like it starts here and then it ends here. The first question I want to ask is, what'd you have for breakfast this morning?
I mean, honestly, I'm not a big breakfast person, so like pretty much my whole life I never really ate breakfast. So I just started the day with a couple ounces of coffee, basically. So yeah, that's how it goes. So yeah, I'm on like a 2-meal kind of diet. So I usually eat around like 2 p.m. and then I eat a supper at like 6 or 6:30. So yeah. But yeah, no breakfast today.
All right, the timer's gonna start. We'll start off with some Sophie's Choice questions. Which would you rather see in your future biopic? You being played by Christian Slater, or Slater-Kinney covering an entire Aquanaut album? Which of those two things sound more appealing to you?
I mean, I'm not a huge not familiar with Slater-Kinney, so I'm gonna go with Christian Slater, I guess. I feel like I kind of grew up in that era where Christian Slater was like, a trendy dude. So, I mean, I'm cool with it.
I can see him playing that. What era of your life would you want him to play?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, probably my yet to be established end of life, maybe. I don't know. I haven't really seen him in the flesh for a long time. So yeah, but I mean, probably if I had to pick, probably my 20s to 30s or something like that would be dope. But yeah, I think he would need to flash back a bit into his younger self as well. So.
Well, yeah, nowadays, like what they did with Harrison Ford, they could make him look like he was 20.
That's true, I guess.
Who would you rather be locked in a crate with, Christian Bale or Christian Nairn?
Probably, I mean, Christian Bale. I think I would be, I mean, I do have some Irish roots, so we might be able to connect on that level. But yeah, I feel like Christian Bale's like pretty badass dude, so I think that would be dope.
I should point out to people, because Christian Nairn's not like a huge name, but he's a DJ from Lisburn, Northern Ireland, but he's most known for the character Hodor in Game of Thrones. Well, what's more gratifying, reading Edgar Allan Poe or eating a Po' boy sandwich?
I mean, as depressing as it is, I do really appreciate Edgar Allan Poe, but I mean, Po' boys are pretty amazing as well. I think, honestly, probably, I do like reading a lot, and kind of grew up to a mom that was a librarian, so I mean, I think I'll probably go with the poetry, go with the Edgar.
That makes heaps of sense, because I was in the intro talking about, like, just based off of your lyrics, you seem super educated, and so we were kind of wondering where it had come from, but...
Totally, yeah, I mean, I kind of... I've been a fan of, I feel like books are like my most go-to medium, because I really appreciate the sort of imagination that it creates. And so I really connect with words more than like visual art. So, I mean, yeah, for me, I was always, grew up seeing my mom reading like 5 books a week, and, going to the library to visit her at work and these types of things. So ever since, and my dad was very well read as well. So, I mean, I kind of just grew up with, books in my hands. So, I mean, yeah, I do really connect with literature for sure.
Is that a prerequisite to be a librarian? You have to read a lot of books, or you would just become a librarian because you enjoy books?
Yeah, I think it probably goes hand in hand, but I mean, I feel like my mom, she grew up in a very small, farming town. So I feel probably in the same regard that I just spoke about. I'm sure she was trying to transcend elsewhere and reading a lot when she was young, but also too, I'm assuming she probably just was like, oh, that would be a job I could probably do, and took the chance there. So, but yeah, I think it would be kind of not the greatest if you were working in a library and you're like, oh, I hate books. So
yeah, like working in a record shop and you hate music.
Yeah, I don't know anything, but yeah, here's this record, it's dope. So
well, do you have a specific genre of books that you enjoy reading?
I mean, it kind of depends, honestly, on the point of my life that I've been in. I am a big I do love fiction, and I've been kind of reading. I was on a big Haruki Murakami kick for a long time, so I mean, I sort of I don't know, I kind of like stories that are really when the protagonist really doesn't have some grandiose adventure involved. That's kind of just very more introspective, thinking about life. I mean, when I was going to university, I kind of got killed with, just reading nonfiction. I did some, my studies were in politics, so I felt like by the time I was finished university, I was kind of done on reading about, depressing world history and world events. But yeah, lately I'm kind of back on sort of metaphysical, ancient history, kind of fiction or nonfiction, pardon me. So yeah, it really sort of depends on where I'm at in my life and kind of what I'm going through, sort of where I want to take my mind on my downtime. So yeah, I'm open to everything though, honestly. I try not to alienate any type of literature, and I usually in a weird way, I feel like books find me at the right time in my life. So I had this weird trend of at the exact moment when I feel like I need to read something, someone will offer me a book, or I'll just bump into it in a bookstore and be, I'm like, wow, I didn't realize how much this is going to connect with me in the moment. So yeah, I just kind of trust sort of what falls into my lap at that time, I think.
Oh, I envy that. I'm not a reader only because I explain this every time on the podcast, but because everything's so visual for me, I can't stay focused long enough to read a book. But I feel that way with music. That's how music will operate with me. It comes in the right time in your life. So that's cool to hear. How do you play your music when you're listening, soft or loud?
I mean, I do prefer really loud music, but I mean, at this point in my life, I sold like my kind of stereo system like many years ago, so I'm usually just like headphones, I'd say like 3/4 volume, or else like just through my like speaker on my iPhone or something like that. So yeah, I've kind of like went into a more softer, I guess as I'm aging, I'm like taking care of my ears more. But yeah, when I was young, it would be like in a dark room, full blast basically. So yeah,
aggressively loud.
Yes, exactly. And yeah, I think too, when I'm like listening to, you know, music that I'm working on, I like to have it quite loud as well, especially when I'm like kind of conceptualizing lyrically. But also too, when I'm writing lyrics, I try to have it quite low as well, so I can kind of work on my melodies to go with the beat as well. So yeah, it honestly just depends. And yeah, usually like if I'm walking home from work after like a long day, like I'll try to blast my eardrums as well. Yeah. So I think it kind of depends if I'm trying to escape or be like in the moment.
What about snow ski or water ski?
I mean, I've only ever like where I grew up, we have a ton of lakes and we have 0 mountains. So I mean, I grew up like, you know, my family wasn't crazy rich or anything, so we never had a boat, but I'd have friends that we would go to, and I'd, you know, go tubing or like bodyboarding or something like that. But I prefer mountain skiing. I think I would rather be, you know, kind of in nature that way. I think getting dragged behind a boat to me is just like not as fun as it seems. It's like, and especially when you're like, you know, grow up, people are like trying to hurt you on a tube or something like that. I'm like, I think like, the freedom of just like slowing back and forth and taking time to stop and look at nature as opposed to being like hanging on for dear life.
Yeah. What do you guys have a ski resort in your like
said there's no
right? That's what. But
mountain.
Yeah,
where
like,
how far is it a drive for you guys to go?
Yeah, so I grew up in Saskatchewan, like in Saskatoon, and so yeah, it's like, you know, a glacial prairie basically. So there's not really anything that we would call like a mountain. Was either like a man-made little mound or like, you know, an old junk pile that they like got to the point where they're like, maybe we should just let this be a ski hill or something like that. So, but when I was younger, my parents like would really try every year to take us on some sort of like vacation in the winter just to kind of get away from like the drain of, you know, 8 months of frigidness. So yeah, we would sometimes go to like the Rocky Mountains and, you know, go on a ski trip for like a weekend. Yeah. So I think maybe those like fond memories as well of like spending time with my family, that also plays into like the mountains. But I think at this point in my life, like going to a mountain and like sitting in a hot tub is probably like the most ideal setup for me at this point.
Yeah, that is weird because we grew up in Salt Lake City, Utah, so there wasn't things like ski trip, like family ski trips, because you'd just go up for the day.
Yeah, totally.
But I like seeing movies and stuff where people do go on those family ski trips. It seems like it would be fun, kind of locked in a fire burning. And where does the moniker Kay the Aquanaut come from?
I mean, there's a couple like levels to it. I guess first off, like I kind of grew up with some homies where we had our first little like rap crew was called the Submerged MCs, and so we kind of had this idea of like, you know, we're so underground that we're like underwater basically. So I think it kind of came from that realm. So I mean, my original rap moniker for most of my like childhood was Kay Aquatic. And then basically I got to a point where for some reason I was just like, most people would just call me Kay. So I just dropped like the aquatic and then I just made it Kay the Aquanaut basically. So that would be like the first explanation. Secondly, like I've had this kind of, I mean, I haven't had it much recently, but I always had this sort of disturbing reoccurring dream when I was young of sort of being underwater. And it was kind of comforting, but also kind of scary in the same realm. So I think that's sort of where that whole submerged underwater type vibe came from. And yeah, kind of just like, kind of, you know, in the sense of like, I guess like an old sort of Russian diver with the big iron helmets. Like I just had an affinity for that because this strange dream I kept having was sort of me like being able to exist underwater, but also being terrified. And I think that's kind of where it came from, to be honest.
Have you ever had an actual near drowning experience?
I haven't, honestly, but it was crazy. Basically, like, 2 years ago, my mom ended up telling me that when she was young, she had an experience where there's these things, I don't know if you're familiar, but it's called a dugout. But it's basically like if you grow up on a farm, you sort of build like or dig into the ground so like water can drain off into the area. And so apparently when she was like 9 or 10 years old, she had an experience where she fell into this dugout and like almost died basically. Ooh. And had to be saved. And so she told me like from that point on, she would always have these crazy reoccurring dreams about her. And she wasn't sure if it was a memory or if it was like something that actually happened. And so that was kind of without me prompting her that I'd been like, I never really told anyone about these dreams as far as like my parents or anything like that, because I was, trying to be too tough or whatever. But yeah, I think honestly, it might be some kind of cosmic genetic passed down scar memory, something like that. So yeah, I think that's probably the closest I've been.
Do you think that there's a possibility? I mean, everything else is hereditary.
I think they said that you
dreams are hereditary.
Not dreams, but like traumas.
Well, I was just
passed down.
Well, I remember we had learned that I had the similar dream as my dad, and
all
his
your cousins,
and we all kind of had the same dream, and we learned that our grandpa had the same. Ours is all of our teeth falling out of our mouth. I know that's not we're the only ones with that dream, but one night we were having a conversation and we all learned that we all had that dream. I guess it'd be hereditary, your mind, I mean, everything else.
Yeah, I think honestly, like you said, I think I'm a big believer in energetic trauma being passed down. And I think obviously it's more fact than fiction at this point. So yeah, I think, the synapses are all connected through trauma as well. So I do think that, those types of stresses and kind of, distant memories can definitely be passed down. And, I think a lot, deja vu, all these types of things, I think have a lot to do with those type of connections. So, on the topic of the teeth, I've definitely had a few of those. Those ones are horrible. So yeah. I envy that, or I don't envy that at all. So
I hate that dream. So the new album, New Physics. What's the best song on there?
I mean, it depends on the day, honestly, that I listen to it. It's crazy. Like that album itself was something that Factor and I worked on. We started working on that album in like 2018. So I've had a long time to really digest those tracks. And I mean, I think probably at this point, my favorite song on the album would be like You and Me.
You could never hold us down, glyphs of God sent. I'm a line on a 10-mile high megalith. Flightless birds always swooping on the star's nest. That cherry hue over yonder, that's the Great Rift. That's where we come from, that's where we shape shifted. Come equipped when you're flexing new muscles in your mind.
Kind of like going through like some stress in my life and post-breakup drama, these types of things. Like I feel like I connect to that kind of like optimistic love focus. But yeah, it really sort of depends on like what energy I'm in. And
it's really good, man. It's a really, really terrific album. Congratulations on that.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, that's crazy. I didn't realize it was done in 2000. That would have been before Factor's East, before. I mean, yeah, that's before the pandemic.
Yeah. So, sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, did you have like lyrically? Is there anything was it all recorded before the pandemic?
Yeah. I mean, for the most part, there was a few tracks that we recorded post-pandemic. So basically, the story was we had worked on finished an album called Seven Vessels that we put out many, many moons ago, and sort of. Once we were sort of finished with that, we kind of had this routine going where like once a week we would hook up in his studio and at that point, and I mean, still to this day, I'm writing a lot, but I would kind of be building up my lyrics throughout the week. We would go into the studio.
Pre-flood studio?
Pre-flood studio, yeah, for sure. And so it would be like, we'd start the beat at like 2 p.m., I would sit in as Factor was sort of tinkering. I'd be writing, placing lyrics in, fitting kind of concepts into like the sound of the beat, then I would sort of spit to him what I had in mind to like the drum loop that he was building or the sample that he was working with, and or the keys as well. And so yeah, basically we would like start the track at like 2 p.m. and we would finish the track at like 11 p.m. And so basically a lot of the songs on the album were literally just one session that we finished the whole project. And so I think like I was really focused on conceptually I was reading a lot of sort of like ancient metaphysical history at that time, and I was also indulging with like a lot of like fungi, microdosing, heavy dosing, and so yeah, a lot of my lyrics were sort of focused on this idea that like if like an ancient tablet was found with sort of like conceptual connections, that I wanted it to be sort of this like glimpse of like prehistoric life basically. So yeah, I was very conceptualized, and I told him about that focus when we were like working on the project, so he could also work that into the beats. And yeah, I mean, it was kind of like honestly magic. I feel like how it happened, it was one of those projects where like, after 2 months we were like, oh shit, like we got like 9 songs done already, and they're all like, I liked each one better than the first one, so yeah, that was
really succinct too. Like you can feel that it feels like each song to the next, it feels like whatever headspace you were in, it feels like it's part of this.
Yeah, totally.
Like what?
Well, I'm not good at the words.
Oh.
When I hear words like when you use synapse, like that gives me I get such a charge out of people who have a really good working of the English language. I love it. And I don't have it, but I always want to try to have it. I'm like, oh yeah, it's just the word succinct's not like a word I use all the time, but it definitely I think works for this album.
Yeah, I mean that means a lot that you say that, because, and I feel too like sort of the way we recorded it really played into that as well. Like we didn't spend much time thinking about the songs after we finished. We just had this kind of goal that like we were just gonna keep working, try to make as many dope songs as possible. And like I said, I was really conceptualizing on the kind of like, I don't know, I kind of look at my projects as like literature, in the sense where I feel like every album is like a concept album for me, whether it comes off that way or not. And I'm sort of, I kind of treat my rap kind of focus as like being an author, that I want everything to be connections. I try to like carry certain phrases from one album to the next, and sort of, I want my catalog at the end of the day to make sense, that I'm happy with it, but also too that like if you've been listening to Kay the Aquanaut for 10, 15 years or however long, that you're going to understand sort of the progression, and that there is connections between the old and the new. And
yeah, it's part of your story.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. And I want to be as authentic to myself as possible. And so yeah, I'm never trying to like, as trendy as it is to say, like I'm always making the music for myself first and foremost, and I want to be able to like enjoy the music myself and not look back and be like, oh, what was I trying to style on something that I'm not even into or care about or whatever. So
there's a lot of things too that I feel like a lot of MCs or even just music makers do when they're younger, because you are discovering yourself early on. And I bring that up because I notice a lot of the MCs and a lot of people who make music that we're talking to now, they all seem to be in the best, maybe not financially or where they are as far as their career-wise, but they seem to be in the best headspace with their writing and the music they're making, because they're more of a position to be able to write what's true to them, and less of like, oh, I need to make it to this certain level of stardom to be able to continue to make music. Maybe that's an aging thing too, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think like there's beauty in authenticity, and I think like, outside of, it doesn't always pay the bills, but I think when you're able to like express yourself openly and honestly and sort of put your best foot forward to the world, like it's a lot easier to stand behind than sort of fronting on, writing a song about a new pair of like Jordans or something that you're getting paid for, and then you're kind of like sort of stuck with that. And I mean, for me, like you know, it'd be nice to be able to make a bunch of money making music. But like I said, it's like the creative expression for me has always been the most important part. And like I grew up in that kind of artist focus. Like my dad was a longtime musician, and I think he, you know, kind of instilled it in me that like, you know, art is about like an expression of self and not like, you know, when I grew up, you know, and I, you know, a lot of people are still in this focus, but you know, I wanted to be the most original artist that I could be. Like I never wanted to write a song that sounded like anybody else. And I wasn't trying to like make a new TikTok trend song or something like that, you know? So I was always like authenticity, creativity, originality, like those are always key kind of concepts for me. And so I think that makes it a lot easier to, you know, be happy with your art when it's just a true expression of who you actually are. So
I feel it lasts longer too, and I think the audience like it more. Like they recognize authenticity, and I think it sticks with them longer than what's hot for the moment. Do you consider yourself a stargazer?
I mean, yeah, I do. Like I've always had a you know, affinity to or a connection to the stars and sort of the outer concepts of like the cosmos and universality. And you know, I was always a big believer of like, you know, I don't know, even when I was young, I was always kind of focused on the idea that like, I always felt like I had experienced like life, you know, already. And like, not to get too deep with it, but yeah, just kind of like the energetic connection to like, you know, the sun and the stars, that I always was really like open to the idea that like this wasn't just a temporary moment for me. So I think like stargazing and sort of like scheming on the same kind of skies and surroundings that, you know, ancient folks have been staring at as well, to me was always just comforting. So yeah, I feel like I've, you know, always been into you know, horoscopes, star charts, these types of things. And yeah, like even last night was out in the park, you know, with the dog, just literally staring at the moon, like thinking about life for, you know, 20-30 minutes. So yeah, it's a, you know, a piece for me, and I find just kind of eases the stress of life itself, knowing that like, you know, once this body's gone, there's other energies going to be floating around. So
yeah, I also like what you say about it's the same sky that people have been looking at from this planet for however long they've been occupying this planet.
Yeah, that's it. I think it takes the stress off life, you know, to be like, yeah, I'm not the only one who's stressed out at this moment of looking at the same sky. So
yeah, I get turned on by the fact that how insignificant I am. I don't think right? You don't like that feeling.
No, I don't like it.
It takes the stress out of it, because I'm like, yeah, I'm insignificant. So
no, when I read like they just found a new gas thing in the Milky Way that just seems so far away and foreign and makes everything feel so small here.
Mm-hmm. No, it is terrifying. Like there's definitely moments where you like, I'll be like scrolling through something and I see some, you know, you see like what would happen if a black hole popped out, and then, you know, I start to get like uneasy for 10 minutes until something else distracts me. But yeah, like, no, I mean, it's kind of like liberating to know that you're just a small piece, but it's also terrifying to know that you're just a small piece. So.
Hey, who did the cover art on this album?
Yeah, so he's a longtime homie. His name's Dave Jagutis, or 319 Heads, Noise 319. He's got quite a few monikers, but yeah, he's a longtime friend, kind of part of our like rap collective that Factor and I were a part of. He grew up I got to know him in Edmonton, Alberta, but now he's living in Austin, Texas. And yeah, he's just like a heavyweight in the game as far as kind of indie rap goes. He runs a magazine called Hugs Mag, or Underground Sound Magazine. And yeah, I've literally entrusted him with almost every album art that I've...
It's cool. Did he do the nautical art? The nautical blue cover too?
Nah. Oh yeah, he did. Yes, totally. Yeah, he did the nautical blue. He did Seven Vessels. Yeah, he's done almost all my art. The only two other people that I've ever got to do art for me was, or the only other person was Ghostshrimp.
I know, the Waterloo, and I'm wondering how did you end up getting Ghostshrimp to do an album cover for you?
Yeah, so I think like him and Factor met on tour many moons ago, and like I don't want to get into much into the details of the story, but I know it was like a crazy kind of experience that they had together. And yeah,
everybody I've ever met that had interactions with him, it's always, I don't want to get into exactly what went on, but
no, he's a character and a half, as everyone who knows him knows, or if you just follow him online or whatever. So yeah, I think honestly, like it was probably a situation where I think Factor maybe mentioned like, oh, it'd be cool to get him to get on to do the art. And I think too, like he was familiar with my music as well. And so, yeah, we basically approached him, and yeah, he was down and obviously crushed it. So, I mean, yeah, like, I don't know, like I said, I like to have not only like kind of everything be cohesive as far as my catalog goes, but I also really like to work with people that I actually know, you know? So, I mean, I feel like that's always important for me. And also when you have homies that are always going to crush it, that's always easy to just trust them to get it done for you. So, yeah.
Hey, here's a question that I haven't asked anybody for a long time, but if somebody was choking, are you confident that you'd know how to properly perform the Heimlich?
Oh, God. I mean, I don't know if I would do it properly, but I would die trying to save them, that's for sure. Like, yeah, I mean, whether it's a gift or the curse, I've always thrown myself in the line of, like, if there's a trouble situation, I'm in there, whether I'm consciously thinking about it or not. So, yeah, I mean, I've done a little bit of, like, self-research, but I've never taken a course by any means. But, yeah, I would die trying to save someone for sure.
Don't you think they should have, like, a required course for everybody? Like every 5 years?
I thought they did or something.
I mean, every citizen in every country does require you to know how to do those things.
Yeah, I mean, it would make sense if, you know, every year that you go to school or even as an adult, like you should have some sort of like self-help training, I guess. Yeah, I mean, I think that should be something that should be on the ballot for 2024.
Yeah. Hey, do you have a favorite Canadian?
Probably. I mean, I'm gonna go with Gordon Lightfoot. I mean, he's like, I don't know if you're familiar with him, but yeah, he's like a long time kind of folk singer songwriter. Yeah, I don't know. I always like had a really close connection with his art, and it was something that my dad and I shared, and you know, so I grew up listening to his records, and he was like a really kind of in-depth, like folky storyteller. And I think honestly, like the way he constructed his lyrics and songs really like inspired me. And I always thought he was super cool. You know, he was kind of under the radar, but he was always chilling with like Johnny Cash and sort of all these kind of heavyweight American folk writers that, you know, I felt, I kind of like, you know, always took like inspiration from him as far as just being kind of low pro, but just like very prolific and, you know, kind of really writing just very original songs, storytelling, these types of things, campfire music, you know?
Yeah. Do you play instruments too?
I mean, that's loosely described. I mean, I definitely can like a little bit play some music, but I'm not really like trained in any realm, or, you know, I can strum a few chords and play a few keys, but I'm not really, you know, my dad was a longtime musician, but I think for me, I was always just drawn to like lyrics and singing and, you know, these types of things. So I just kind of, when I was young, I was like, I'm just going to focus on being a singer. You know, it was kind of my aspirations when I was like even young. So just kind of focused on that.
I like campfire music.
Yeah. I mean, even like at the start of this year, I was talking with a friend of mine, and I was like, I think I've been having this idea that I'm going to just buy like a micro Korg and just kind of teach myself how to play the piano, just so I can kind of, you know, sing to myself and kind of keep my brain focused. So yeah, you never know. This might inspire me to actually go through with that. So
yeah. Here's a couple of choices. Cooking or cleaning?
Oh, big time cooking. I love cooking. I consider myself a chef. I worked as a baker for a few years, and so yeah, I really enjoy cooking. And I mean,
what are some of the things that you like to cook?
I like making soups a lot, and yeah, I mean, like, you know, I kind of enjoy just sort of I don't know, lately I've been really enjoying making like different kinds of chilies and soups and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, I really just depends on sort of the mood that I'm in. But yeah, I mean, even last night I just made like kind of a delicious little like burrito spread with some bean salad that I made and these types of things. So yeah,
do you make the kind of chili that you would go into a chili cook-off kind of deal? Would you be?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't be afraid to, honestly. Like, I feel like I'm a good cook, but yeah, I haven't really made it in that type of quantity yet. That's for sure.
What would be your signature dish?
Yeah, probably like kind of some sort of like sweet and sour soup, I think would be my like.
Yes.
A sweet and sour soup, like a Chinese sweet and sour soup?
Yeah,
or your own
kind of in that vein, but yeah, probably a little more like Slavic than maybe that type. So yeah, a lot of like sautéed vegetables and yeah, a lot of vinegar, kind of hot sauce focus. Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of like very, kind of, I think it's an original recipe that I like making, but yeah, I really enjoy making soups. I feel like just the labor of time and, the process of sitting and watching it boil and smell and all these types of things are like, I don't know, peaceful for me. Yeah, I think I really like things where there's a start and a finish and then I get to enjoy it afterwards. So I feel like cooking really plays into that.
Yeah.
I can dig that. That's what drawing is for me. What about, who do you think Canadians know more, Red Green or Lorne Green?
I mean, anybody I think who grew up, 80s, kind of early 90s would definitely know who Red Green is, or their like dad was a fan of Red Green or something like that. So and yeah,
watch it though, because we used to get it a little bit in the States, but I remember seeing it. And the guy was kind of funny.
Oh yeah, like my dad would like be howling hysterically watching Red Green. So I think, if you grow up in like small town Canada, which a lot of us did, there's only like 6 big cities in Canada in general that like everybody, at least if it wasn't you who could connect with Red Green, you like knew some neighbor that you were like, oh, that's exactly who this dude is, like, fixing things with duct tape and hearing like, kind of heavy machinery in the background always going off, people cutting down trees or these types of things. Like, I think it was just like a very relatable, like kind of the lowbrow comedy that everyone could kind of get behind. So yeah.
You remember it all, Adrian? That Red Green
show? I don't think I ever watched.
He wore like a red plaid shirt and he had a beard and it was like a kind of like a Tim Allen home improvement kind of guy, but
totally.
Yeah, I don't know. I love that. The other guy was from Bonanza.
Yeah, totally. I think like a singer as well. So I mean, there's a kind of like a government-ran TV channel called CBC that Lorne Green would be on, like singing folk songs or something like that. But I feel like Red Green's probably hitting more households than Lorne Green.
Are you handy, or like you a DIYer?
I mean, I feel like if I'm thrown under the gun, I can definitely like tinker, but I wouldn't trust me to like build something from start to finish.
Right.
That type.
What about hockey or cricket?
Definitely hockey. Grew up again, like I said, in around, where hockey was sort of life. And I mean, when you're stuck in like a cold environment for 8 months of the year, I mean, it's just like basically that was your only outlet at that time, especially like, when cable TV wasn't what it was. You either had a bunch of homies that you knew that played hockey, were always talking about hockey, or else like, that was your one like outlet was to watch hockey, on Saturday night or something like that. So yeah, I mean, I really enjoy hockey, to be honest. I haven't played it in, many, many years, but I played it, as a child. And
is that something that almost everybody does in Canada? Everyone, at least at some point. Well, everyone knows how to skate, for one.
Yeah, I think honestly, like probably not now as much as it was kind of back in the day. Like I think it's become quite expensive, and I think oh yeah, like to play hockey is not only the fees to play, because you gotta everyone has to pay for the ice that you're renting to play on, but also the equipment and it's a big life commitment. If you play in a team when you're young and you're a parent, you gotta like drive your kid to the surrounding towns to go play tournaments and et cetera. So yeah, I mean, in the 90s, everybody played hockey. I mean, I think now it's kind of like a little less trendy. More people are, I guess like online, that way, these types of things, or playing soccer or something that's not as expensive. So
playing hockey on the Wii.
That is interesting though, because I grew up skiing and you grew up skiing and snowboarding and stuff, but we couldn't afford to take our kids.
Mm-hmm.
But our kids don't know how to do
No.
either of those things.
Everything's too expensive.
We just live at the bottom of the mountain, you know, really, and
Yeah, for sure.
never
No,
ate.
a common thread that we all share is that, like, yeah, life is expensive, and, you know, ultimately, like, the young ones are paying the toll, because, I mean, yeah, I think a lot of those, like, great memories, like I said, like, you know, just going on a ski trip with my family when I was young probably cost my dad like $200-300, where now that same trip is probably like $6,000 or something,
Yeah,
you know.
for us to even go up to the slopes for a day, it'd be over $400, and then we'd have to rent, you know, all the skis and everything. So it would be probably like $600 to go up for one day.
Yeah, little things like that. I guess you don't get family trips all that often anymore.
Yeah, I mean,
even a
depending on the demographics and how much your trust fund's worth, yeah, it's not a real option these days for a lot of people.
Well, speaking of money, what are the things that you don't mind spending extra money on?
Coffee would be one.
How do you like your coffee?
I just am black. I mean, I used to, you know, was into like short Americanos for a long time, but I'm back on the drip. Yeah. And like, I literally haven't put cream in my coffee like probably my whole life. So I'm not into cappuccinos or lattes. And honestly, like lately, my big trend is putting cinnamon on the top of my coffee. So kind of like that sort of warming element and getting my blood flowing with the caffeine. I feel like it makes it hit a little harder. So yeah, I mean, and then, yeah, I think like, I mean, lately I've just been kind of like sort of stashing money for, you know, paying to go on like tours, taking time away from work. So it's like, you know, not the most glorious, but saving money to go continue my art focus is probably my main kind of, yeah, I'm trying not to splurge as much. I've been set a crazy like food budget this year. So, I mean, I'm just trying to like, I'm usually like, what do I feel like eating, you know, like at 5 p.m. and then I go get it. But this year I've been really like setting up meal plans and sort of trying to, you know, be an adult, I guess. So
Pretty wild what you save from just grocery shopping instead
knowing
of
what you're
knowing
gonna
what
eat.
you're gonna eat.
No, it's true. It takes the fun out of it. You know, you don't always feel like, you know, you're like, damn, I don't feel like pork chops and potatoes today, but I'm going to do it anyways type thing. So it's like, yeah. So, I mean, I've been living pretty basic, honestly. I like treating my dog too. So, I mean, you know, always he's getting a new treat or a new toy, these types of things. So, yeah, I'm living pretty low pro, honestly, but I enjoy it.
Is there a battle that you always lose? Like, for example, mine is a bowl of cereal at night.
Yeah, I mean, lately I've been eating a ton of salted peanuts. So it's like, you know, even if I'm like finished supper and I'm like hungry, you know, or not hungry at all, and I'm like, you know, it's 9:30, I have no need to be like eating a bowl of peanuts. I'm like crushing a bowl of peanuts. And like, it was always funny because I would always make fun of my dad. Like, I felt like after my mom would go to bed, my dad would like sneak out and be eating peanuts. And I was like, it's so weird. But now I guess like I've caught up to him in that regard.
When you say bowl of peanuts, are you talking? Are they in the shell or just a bowl of just the peanuts?
I mean, I prefer, like, I don't know what it is. Like, I do enjoy like shelling peanuts myself, but like, yeah, I don't do that anymore. I just feel like the value just isn't there. Like paying for the shell itself, I'm just like, I don't know. I like a roasted salted peanut kind of guy. Yeah.
You probably eat less though if you were shelling them.
That's
It takes
true.
twice as long to eat.
I feel like my fingers would get more raw too that way, which is, you know, also deters you from eating more. So, but
Have you ever had boiled peanuts from down in Florida?
I have, honestly. Yeah, my parents had a couple good friends that like moved to Florida. They were, I forget whereabouts they were, but anyways, yeah, I remember one day we went to the swap meet there, and my mom's friend was like, yeah, you got to try these boiled peanuts. And I remember at the time I hated them. So, I mean, but I was pretty young.
Fucking gross.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah,
more
so-
like a bean.
Yeah, it's true. Kind of like an edamame or something like that.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, it almost has. Yeah, it has like a.
I
Yeah.
didn't like it.
No, I don't. I fucking hate it.
I remember I was like 10, but I remember being like, this is horrible. So, yeah.
Yeah, I was like 35 and still didn't like it.
Is there like a rapper or a band or someone that you're excited to share with people that you like whenever you're talking about when you're talking music or something? Is there anybody that you really get excited to share with others?
Yeah, there's like at this point in my life, there's probably two. I mean, usually I get the question from a lot of people like who my favorite rappers are, and so like Myka 9, I feel like is like kind of telling people about like Mozart or Beethoven. Like if they don't know who he is, you're like, this dude is like basically hip hop to a T. So I mean, I'm always trying to hype him up to folks if they want to like kind of know about what music I grew up on, or you know, even like just modern music. He's still crushing it. And then I'm in a rap collective in Canada called Rhyme Think, where we kind of are like a, you know, a left-wing political focus kind of group of homies all across Canada. And one of my best friends in Canadian music's name is Lee Reed, and he's to me like the best rapper in Canada. It's also like the best dude I've ever met in music as well. And so like, yeah, I will always listen to his music. I will always push him to people. He's kind of like my big bro in this music shit. Like I always look up to him, not only as far as musically, but just like as a human being. And for me, that's always a big thing for me. Like once I really like to listen and support people that I like as people as well. So I mean,
he's got an album coming out, I think this year on Strange Famous Records.
Yeah, he does. Yeah. So, I mean, I have heard a couple tracks off of it, which are incredible. And like, I have a feature on that project as well. I'm going to leak that. I mean, I haven't finished the recorded project yet, but yeah, I'll be on that. And yeah, he's still rocking with Strange Famous. So yeah, be on the lookout. That album's level.
Who's the best Batman?
I mean, I think probably Christian Bale would be the best one. I think just as far as like the authenticity of it, but yeah, I mean, I kind of like grew up with the Michael Keaton Batman, so I mean, I did enjoy those ones as well. But you know, I think when I revisited them, I was like, nah, he was not as good as I remember him being there. So he's kind of a little more sleazy than I would have liked. So
oh yeah,
probably like Christian Bale, I think, is the most like authentic.
Is there a movie that you can watch over and over again repeatedly?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I mean, honestly, like I've been watching a lot of like I really like my favorite type of movie to watch basically is like documentaries of like how albums were made and sort of like how we're in the studio. So there's one about the band that I have watched probably a gabillion times, and I've watched also one the Transformer album by Lou Reed. I've watched that one a bunch of times, but probably the one movie that I can watch over and over and never get tired is a Jean-Michel Basquiat documentary, The Radiant Child, which I've probably watched 1,000 times. So
that dude was, what a absolute shame that the rest of the world doesn't like, or that we don't get more of his existence.
Yeah, it's true. No, I mean, he was, you know, like I think a lot of people in that sort of New York art scene, like kind of got submerged by like, you know, the drug life that kind of connected all those artists. But yeah, I mean, something about that dude resonated with me, you know, long before like Jay-Z was rapping about him or these types of things.
Or stole his hairstyle.
Yeah.
Just bothered that he's...
Yeah, no, it's real though. So yeah, I mean, that documentary for me will, you know, gets me super inspired, but it also gets me very emotional and kind of just also puts my like art experience in perspective, where I'm like, you know, it's just about making art. Ultimately, that's what it comes down to. A time, you know, occupying a space as opposed to a time with art. That's always been a big focus for me. So.
All right, last Sophie's Choice question based off of one of your songs and the country you're from, I guess. Who would you be more excited to meet, John Wayne or Wayne Gretzky?
Oh God, probably Gretz, I think. Yeah, I never really related too much with like the cowboy persona, so I think like John Wayne, to me, I'm just like whatever. But Wayne Gretzky, you know, I had a poster of Wayne on my wall when I was young, and you know, so I would probably like to meet the Gretz.
I was going to ask if when you were growing up, did you have posters on your wall?
Oh, big time, man. Yeah, I was a big poster guy. Like, I don't know, we would always have these little fairs at my elementary school where like this like bus would pull up and have like a gabillion posters, and that was like always like the best part of my like school year was going in there and spending like $10 on 4 different posters.
Wait, so a bus would show up at school and then you would buy the posters out from the bus?
Yeah, they'd set up like a display in the art room where you could basically, there was like, a bunch of posters on the wall that they'd be like,
that's cool.
Pop artists, maybe some kind of like conceptual art or something like that. But yeah, I would, and yeah, I think actually when I was going to university, they used to have a poster fair as well. So, I mean, yeah, I probably spent way more.
Poster fair? It wasn't the book fair that they actually just had posters too?
Yeah, like literally be like, we had this place in my university called Place Surreal, and it was just like a big open space where, yeah, they probably had like 10,000 posters that you could, sort through and these types of things. So.
Is that they still do?
I think I don't know for sure, but I would assume that it probably still exists there. Like, I don't know, maybe not. I don't know, maybe people don't care about posters anymore, but I always thought it was dope that you could go pick up like a Van Gogh painting or something like that on a poster form. Like, I always thought that was dope. So
yeah, our son still has posters on his.
Both work.
Yeah, they both use posters still. Yeah, I think that's still. Yeah, that's cool.
Just interesting because we would have the book fair and they would have some posters, but it was like a kitten dangling from the tree, and it'd be like, hang in there, and then like all these stupid posters.
Oh, sorry, yeah. No, I don't know. I felt like it was, peace of mind at night. Just kind of, I think, like I said, I really like the connection to imagination. And so just sort of like staring at posters, sort of putting yourself, I mean, even if you can see behind me, I have like kind of like art, album poster art still on my wall. So, I mean, yeah, I really enjoy that still.
Who would you rather be locked in an escape room with, Kid Rock or Kanye?
Oh, right.
Oh man, I mean, it's a controversial take, but I'm still a fan of Kanye, as crazy as he's got. So, and I mean, I'm definitely not a fan of Kid Rock, so I'll go Kanye all day.
Okay. And then what advice would you give your 21-year-old self?
Probably to like get a trade, I think would be something like, don't go to university, get a job that's going to pay you some actual money. I feel like obviously in this day and age, you can sort of learn everything you need, elsewhere than going and sitting in a stuffy classroom. So, but
what I think you do.
Yeah, I mean, my brother's an electrician and he makes major bread, so I'd probably say something like that. Something that's not going to really like blow your body out,
Yeah, plumbing or electric.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I think too, like I would also be a big proponent of like, you either have to learn an instrument, you need to do some sort of creative form, you need some sort of outlet as well. Like, it can't all be about money because ultimately that might not be worth anything in the future anyway. So, and yeah, being able to express yourself is always going to be valuable.
Well, the one that I always ask after the follow-up to that question is, would your 21-year-old self listen to you?
I always wonder about that. If I'd be like, I would think I was a herb, at this point as far as musically goes. But like I said, I feel like I've been kind of following the same sort of conceptual path of my art at that time as well. So yeah, I'd like to think that, like, if anything, if I didn't enjoy the music, I would still be proud of the effort that I've put in at this point, and still being at it, still not selling out, quote unquote, and still sort of make genre of music that I would have been making at that time. So
I hope you're enjoying the discussion with our esteemed guest that you're watching right now. This is where we normally be going into the dish segment, but we decided we want to give you more time with our guest, so we're turning the dish segment into its own thing of extra content. So tune in next week, same time, same place, with this same guest for the additional content of which the Buck65 says is one of his favorite segments of the DOD45 show, with our guest learning their firsts, worsts, and thirsts, the dish. Okay, that's that. Tune in next week for the dish, first, worsts, and thirsts. Now let's get back to wrapping it up with our guest. Peace. The last questions are for new listeners. What album of yours would you tell them to start with for people who are first discovering you? What would be the first album you'd like them to start with?
Yeah, I think honestly, like the trendy thing is to probably say the one that just came out, but I feel like probably like Waterloo or Seven Vessels would be my first two recommendations for people to check out. I just feel like that gives you like a nice base of who I am. They're not as like conceptual as sort of New Physics. So kind of gives you more of a broad spectrum of like who I am as an artist. But yeah, New Physics, I think maybe we'll just settle on that because it's the most current one. So
that's the new album out.
Yeah, Physics. Yeah. So I mean, it's came out on February 9th. We just released it independently, Factor and I, but we do have like a vinyl available through Diggers Records or Diggers Factory based out of France. So yeah, if anyone wants to cop a physical piece of art, I mean, you can grab it through Diggers. The digital's everywhere, as well as the streaming. So yeah, I really just...
Is the vinyl limited? I mean, are there only a certain amount of copies, or are they taking... Because, yeah, I got a pre-order in, but I don't know if there's like a limited amount of them or...
Yeah, it's a limited edition, so we only pressed up 100 of them. So yeah, once they're gone, and then yeah, probably have like a small amount like hitting the road this summer. But yeah, just kind of a limited run. Just want it to be something tangible for people to grab and feel, and yeah, collect if you're into collecting independent hip hop. So yeah, I appreciate it.
Yeah, and the album cover is dope. Yeah, it's really cool, and that's why I'm for your drawing, for the people that are watching, why I'm drawing the mammoth.
Oh, it's amazing.
And Jupiter and Sagittarius.
So sick, dude. I didn't want to say it while it was going on, but yeah, that looks so dope.
Wait, so you are going on tour then?
Yeah, I was gonna say. So you're gonna tour this album, or?
So this basically like late summer, I'm gonna be going on the road with my kind of the Rhyme Think dudes that I told you about before. Yeah, Factor and I will be playing a few kind of limited shows. He's not really touring as much now with the dad life and all these types of things. So, but yeah, I'm definitely gonna be hitting the road a little bit later once kind of winter sort of subsides a bit. So it's always a little bit more daunting and dangerous to tour across Canada when it's the middle of the cold. So I try to not risk my life like that anymore.
So it'll be a North American tour.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, I mean, don't have any plans really as of yet of doing any American shows, but yeah, I want to make that happen for sure.
What's the best way for people to stay informed with your moves?
Probably like I'm pretty, limited as far as my social media game goes, but yeah, probably like my Instagram would be my most updated way to stay in touch. But
like where you if you've got a show coming up or if you've got a new project coming up, you'll post it on your Instagram.
Yeah, I mean, if you're thinking about new music, it's probably like through my Bandcamp as well. But yeah, probably the Instagram will be your most like up to date as far as daily things that are happening, what's coming up in the future, new album drops, these types of things. So yeah, it's unfortunately like I'm not a huge tech savvy focused person. I'm trying to be better at that, trying to get more, involved. But yeah, I usually try to send out kind of group messages through my Bandcamp followers just to keep people up to date as to what's happening, as well as just like, every once in a while doing a post on Instagram about something. So
yeah, Ben, and we're still pressing. Here at our show, we're still pressing Bandcamp. We want you artists to continue to make your music, and we feel like that's sort of at this point the best place to get you money for the music that you make. So
yeah,
I
agree.
Pushing for that.
Yeah, totally. No, Bandcamp's where it's at for sure.
All right, so like the way we started was with "What's Your Breakfast," and the way we end is it's not as in a dark way, but how would you prefer to go toes up?
Oh, this is new.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if that's something that I would prefer, but honestly, I think probably doing something heroic would be the best way. I always envision myself getting hit by a car or something like that, because I feel like it would be ironic that I never drove and then I'd end up getting ran over by like a truck or something like that. So, but yeah, I mean, like trying to save like a dog that's stuck in a burning house, that would be my preferred way to die or something.
Well, all right, man. Thanks. I appreciate you joining us for the show and having a chat with us. It's always nice to learn more about people whose music that I've been listening to for a long time. So,
no, I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for having me. Artwork looks amazing, and yeah, thank you guys so much for hosting me and putting me on the platform. It means a lot.
Okay.
Bye.
Peace.
No ceiling, no ceiling, no ceiling, no ceiling. No ceiling, no ceiling, no ceiling, no ceilings anywhere. No ceiling, no ceiling.
That was cool. That was a nice conversation. I was just saying I'm really hungry right now. And when he was talking about the sweet and sour soup, I was thinking, oh man, That sounds really good to me.
It makes a lot of sense that he makes a lot of soup and chili up there.
Yeah, because it's cold, right?
Yeah.
But jeez.
I've never had sweet and sour soup, so I was really interested to know what the sweet part is, but I think if we talk over him, it cuts out.
Yeah, with the iPads, and that happens, especially with our setup thing here. Shoot.
I don't want soup right now.
Really?
But I am I'm still in my head. We need to go get a wiffle ball bat. Because we had a conversation with Dibs, and I said that we need to set up a team. I almost asked him how good his chili was, if it was good enough to go on Cincinnati chili dogs that I made. We're gonna play a wiffle ball with Dibs, some neighborhood kids maybe if we can't build our team, and Buck65, who I say has to be on our team. Since we're not athletic, he'll make up the difference.
Well, yeah.
So if this guy, Kay, if he's a baseballer and if his chili is good,
we'll bring him out. Yeah, what Adrian's talking about, in case you don't know, is we had a nice long discussion with Mr. Dibs about having a wiffle ball bat tournament in his neighborhood, so in Cincinnati. And we'll be the DOD45 team and bring people out to play or something like that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it was a real conversation that was happening.
Yeah.
It wasn't just...
But we need to practice. And then when I told the kids that they had to practice, then they were like, we're not playing. So I guess we're not going to practice.
And then she was like...
Which is why we need Buck.
In the conversation, too, you were like forgetting that I'm an athlete, because you were like, who...
Well, okay, but you can't hold our whole family up against other athletes.
No, that's true, especially people who almost played for the Yankees.
I feel like I can run, but may not hit the ball to run.
Remember that time when you thought you could run when you raced, when we had a foot race with...
Yep.
I'm cheesing.
I do. I can run the distance. I don't start fast. I end fast. I build up.
Now that'd be fun. I really hope that it happens. That wiffle ball bat tournament in Cincinnati in Mr. Dibs' neighborhood.
So maybe Kay can. Because I was gonna make the vegan chili, but maybe he can make the meat chili.
I was gonna say we are again. Thanks again to Kay for joining us, and thanks for his music. We are in Florida, and the setup is not our typical setup. It's driving me nuts, but it is what it is. We wanted to get some episodes recorded. But what I was going to get at is I just did this show down in, we just did this show down in Miami. A show we've done quite a few times, maybe about 10 or 11 times, maybe about 8 or 9. Anyway, it's
probably 10 years.
Yeah, it's a show where they have this rule where you're not allowed to sell prints at the show, right? Which is this like stupid rule. I'm not going to bore you people with it. But there was this thing that happened at the show, and it was eating me up when it happened. And then I was writing a post out yesterday. I was posting a picture from a drawing that I did at the show, and I started thinking about this moment that happened, and it started to irk me more. So at the show, they provide a lunch for the artists. And I appreciate that because most shows don't provide lunch for artists. So they provide a lunch for the artists and breakfast at the show. And I was standing in line at this lunch, and they give artists badges. So I'm standing in line to eat, to get my lunch, and with a bunch of other artists. And I keep hearing this guy saying, this is for the artists' lunch only. This is food for the artists only. He said it like 3 times. So I turned to look to see who he was talking to. And it turns out he was talking to me. So when these things happen to me, it's a feeling that I get when I was younger. This weird feeling outcasted, or I hate to say it's a racial thing, but I just see red when it happens. And I just knew he was talking to me and not any of these other people that were fucking in the line. And I just turned and I kind of yelled. I snapped back at him. I was like, I am an artist. Anyway, my point is, I don't know what my point is. What was my point?
I think your point is for Buddy to listen to this and to hear how many times you just said the word lunch.
Lunch. That's funny. I've been texting with Buddy Peace because we're going to go have
good.
Because we're going to go have lunch with him in London in a couple months.
Actually, this will be out, right?
Yeah, but it is funny because on his episode he said one of his least favorite words is lunch, and he had a visceral response to it. He really hates it. Yeah, I don't know. I was really bothered by that.
But you were bothered in general too.
Yeah, because there's this weird thing where like artists. What did I say? Like?
No, I was just gonna say maybe we shouldn't even get into it because
maybe we should though.
Because it seems as though from what I understood, the director of that show, and I'm not trying to call anybody out, but it feels like I heard on a podcast that she is trying to get people of a certain
younger
class.
Oh yeah. Well, that's what I want to get into that.
Into that show only and eliminate other classes of people, and so I don't know.
And that's the shit that irks me, and why I wanted to get into it is because I couldn't afford art when I was growing up, and I have this feeling towards artists and the people, the high-end collectors, as being elitists. I have such a disdain for that kind of people that for a long time.
Well, you don't have a disdain towards high-end collectors, but you do have a softness for people who can't afford work that want to be able to own work.
Well, it affected me so much that I hated even calling myself an artist. Like I had just a negative experience. I had a negative feeling towards that world of it's not an exclusive world, it's an exclusion. And I guess what I'm getting at is that this show, I heard the director say on a podcast talking about that they were trying to, they were upping the price of the tickets to get into the show. They don't allow people, they call it a no print show, which is usually in line with, we only want wealthy 1%ers at this show spending their wealthy 1% money. I enjoy getting money from these 1%ers for my artwork, but I much rather have a young person, someone who can't quite afford a big original piece. I'd much rather share an experience with them with my artwork. I'll take fucking 100 people spending $20 on me, 100 people who really get what my artwork's about, who have a real reaction to it. I'd rather 100 people buy a $10 piece from you. I don't have $10 pieces, but then one fucking wealthy billionaire spending $20,000
trying to lowball you on an original.
Yeah, trying to lowball me on an original with their $20,000. I like to sell a $20,000 piece. I like to sell a $5,000 piece, but I want to sell it to people who it fucking matters to them. And when I'm at a show and I'm being told that I can't sell this piece to someone, oh fuck,
and
no one
can't
cares.
Eat the lunch.
Yeah, it really, really soured me. This guy telling me in this line of people that because
because it was a line of white people.
It was a line of white people. I hate to say, I hate throwing in a race card, but I couldn't think of anything else. I'm like, why is he only telling me? I am a fucking artist. Anyway, all right. Oh boy, will I cut that out? I don't know, but it really, really irked me.
But something you did do new on this one was, I think, I didn't notice you doing it before, is you asked Kay if he idolized somebody growing up. Is that right? Mm-hmm. Is that new?
Yeah.
Who did you idolize? Did you idolize? I guess you idolized people.
I did. I idolized Bruce Lee. I idolized my dad.
Did you?
Yeah, I did. I was afraid of him, but I idolized him. I still do. I still show, like, he was so, like, he was like a larger than life person, being. Like, he was tough and he had an afro and he was like, yeah, I idolized him. But on a different level. I think you idolize your parent, someone like that a little differently. You know what I mean?
I don't know that I ever idolized anybody. I don't know.
I wonder if that whole idolizing people is more of a male thing. I hate to make it a...
I don't think so.
No?
Because I think Nale idolizes people.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. That is something, though, that's part of... we have friends, like friends who idolize Elvis Presley. Arnold Schwarzenegger. Yeah, I guess it's not something that everyone has. You didn't idolize somebody, huh?
No, I don't think so. I think I idolize, like, whales. The animal, not the country.
That makes sense.
But I don't know.
I idolize people in music. Yeah, I idolized skateboarders. I idolized people who were doing things at a level that I wanted to do. I think maybe that's what idolize was. And maybe if there were famous what do you call the people who work in the oceans?
Oh, marine biologist.
Maybe if
like I even liked Jane Goodall.
Didn't you idolize her or something? But people who did things like that, maybe that would have been someone you would have idolized, because there wasn't like a ton of stuff that you were wanting to do, right?
Yeah, I wasn't even thinking about things to do.
Yeah,
I
that's
was
what I
just
mean.
off in my own. I wanted to just be a Native American.
Well, then you idolize Native Americans.
No, I don't think I did. I just wanted. I mean, that was like my goal when I was pretty young, was just to be.
Huh.
But yeah, okay. You did have a lot of idols.
I do. I have them tattooed on my body.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do.
I idolized Bob Marley. Yeah, I idolized so many. Yeah, I was. And the thing I was doing at the start: how does your day start, and how does your life end?
I know. I got it.
Yeah. Okay.
I put it together.
All right.
I know the influence there.
Yeah, from the podcast I listened to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
All right, guys. Thanks for joining us. Sorry I wrapped at the end there with it was just something I had to get off my chest. I started to type a post about it, and then I deleted it because I don't like to do that. And now I'm kind of regretting even saying it here.
Well, you can edit it out.
Possibly. Okay, thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time. Oh, there are a few things that I need to end with. My movie share, real quick, is a movie called it's called Corner Office.
I forgot about sharing.
Oh. Well, it's a 2022 movie directed by Joachim Back, starring John Hamm and Danny Pudi from... that's Danny Pudi, I think. Pudi? He's from Community. It's a really good movie. The description of it's a cerebral journey into the mind of an average man who sees himself as being superior to his peers, but can't see how everyone else around him perceives him to be a rather average weirdo who doesn't know how to be cordial or cooperative. So John Hamm starts this new job, and he's kind of a head case, and he's very bored at the job, and he makes this discovery that there is a unused, perfectly decorated, well-appointed corner office in the hallway between the bathroom and an elevator. And it doesn't actually exist. So he's imagining this room, and so he goes into the room, and that's where he can think, and he becomes this like really great person. And it's a black comedy. It's really bizarre, but really, really good. So not all movies suck. People are still making really good movies, and I want to continue to support those and push those. So I think you should check it out. It's a really good one. My song share for today is a song called Satan, Luella, and I by HMLTD.
We've been up and down these hills and found ourselves in different pills. And I met Satan in a cheap motel. She talked at length about Orson Welles. You were washed up.
And it's like a what do you call Rocky Horror Picture Show? It's kind of like a musical song.
Weird.
It seems like it's a song from Rocky Horror Picture Show, and it just came on when we were driving back from dinner the other night, It's in my playlist. I don't hear it that often, but it's really, really good.
I'll do mine real quick.
Okay, yeah.
I have one. This is one I'm picking because I listen to it. I've been listening to it. It's in my rotation for years. I just really love it. It's got a great beat. Unjinxed.
Be just be me when I'm home, free to delete all the road. What can I say? Read when I come in the door. Please don't you leave us no more. What can I say to that? It's just love. You don't say nothing. You just hug and get to that loving. When the right ones stay and you're sleeping late and you just behave. When they crack that maze and you mean what you say. And it
With 4/5 Astronautalist and POS.
Yep. Yeah.
So I didn't have one prepared, but that song I know I love.
Yes, that is
I
a
love
really
that
good song. When that thing comes on in my running playlist, I get an extra kick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a real good one. Good one. Here's my joke too. My joke of the day. My dad joke. What does a baby computer call his father?
Data. Stupid.
You're right. Data. Follow the hashtag ArtByTai on Instagram.
Right.
Please do that. Yeah, please do that. Also, subscribe to the DOD45 Song Share playlist on Spotify. Okay. That's a playlist of all the song shares that are available on Spotify. Okay. And then follow us on wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us, like us, review the show, share it with your friends, because that does help the show get out to other people to listen to. And the reason I say that is because it makes it easier for me to get the guests on the show when I can show them the guests, some like not higher, but guests that I can't get reached to, by showing them that we have a big listener or audience listenership. Yeah, by showing them that, it helps them want to be part of our show. That's the only reason. I don't care about any of the other stuff. It's just so we can get some of these guests that we want to have conversations with for you guys. So do that. And then there's one other thing that I do want to point out. Follow the DOD45 Show on Instagram. It's called DOD45W. I've been keeping up on that, doing daily posts with hashtags, and it makes it a little more fun to follow us on Instagram. So at DOD45W and at ArtByTai. Is that it? Mm-hmm. DOD45.com, ArtByTai.com. Thanks for joining us. We'll catch you down the road. From all of us here, I'd like to wish you happy drawing, happy conversing, and thanks for conspiring with us. Peace. DOD45. Thank you for joining in on yet another episode of the DOD45 Show. Please hit the subscribe or follow button so that you never miss an episode. You can even go one step further by leaving us a review on the YouTube stream or on Spotify, Apple Podcast, or wherever it is that you stream our show from. You can find me at ArtByTai on all the socials or at ArtByTai.com. And if you'd like to follow the DOD45 Show on social media, we're at DOD45W on Instagram, or you can go over to our website at DOD45.com, where you can shoot us an email, join our mailing list, and watch all of our past episodes. Consider joining us for a live chat on the YouTube premieres of episodes every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. Peace.